Okay, lovely. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town and Community Committee meeting. I'm just going to run through the agenda very quickly. I think we've, do we have any apologies for absence? I see none. No, okay. Do we have any declarations of interest relating to the business to be transacted at this meeting? No, okay. Right, item number 3 is the public participation. This is to receive questions and comments from any members of the public on any items included on the agenda. If there's anybody here, I think we have 2 people, do we not, Sheridan?
Yes, we do, yes.
Okay. If you would just like to give your name, and I think it's a maximum of 3 minutes. I don't know who's first on, so.
Is it me or is it the other?
I don't know.
Shall I go first, being selfish?
Barry, go first.
Barry Wood from Peppard. I spoke at the town council last week about the restaurant which is about to open in 23 Marketplace. And I've found out a lot more, and I'm very thankful to Helen, the town manager. She was absolutely wonderful for disturbing my sleep at 9 o'clock this morning. And we had a very useful discussion. So there are a few issues. One is Andy Bowden, who works for Biffa, is your resident bin man and is indispensable to Henley. This poor chap on a very meagre wage, close to the minimum wage, has to pay car parking space about £1,000 per annum in Henley to do his job. He's approached SODC and they said, no way can you have free parking. I approached Ellen this morning and she is going to take it up with the town clerk, apparently. But I really do think we ought to have a look at this in supporting this gentleman who's indispensable to the well-being of Henley. The other one is the grouting issue in the marketplace, which has caused a flood in the restaurant, of which I'm an advisor. And then the other thing that I would implore tonight is you set up a safe waste task force to implement a safe waste contractor, just one only for Henley, who is a professional operator, not a fly-by-night, not a cowboy, operates only COVID secure practices, all cost effective for all the clients of Henley, and wants to produce best practice in Henley for the good of Oxfordshire towns. I think this is really necessary, having looked into waste now for about the last 2 to 3 weeks. The practice of putting waste onto the pavements of Henley in COVID times is absolutely, in my opinion, a complete and utter no-no. It's not good practice, spreads no confidence in the community, and we really do need to look at this. I advocate a safe waste task force to be set up of councillors, probably a couple of outsiders, and somebody from SODC to put out a tender for one contractor only in the town to look at consolidation zones for waste and really cost-effective pickups of waste in this town. We are not in a good place on waste. And I think you all know that. The more I talk to people individually, the more I know that you have a problem. So I would like to leave that with you, a safe waste task force to be set up for implementation in March 1st, 2021. Let's get on with this, if we may. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting. Thank you for taking time out to come and discuss this with us. What I would like to suggest to you is that perhaps you could send a copy of this to the town clerk And what we will do is we will discuss this at our next meeting, which I believe is the 24th of November, which of course you are welcome to join as well. But yeah, if you could get this over.
I would advocate you discuss it tonight, get on with this, get it set up by the 1st of November. Action this day.
Thank you, Barry. If you could put it in writing, as I said to the town clerk, that would be great. We will discuss it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Right. Sean Taylor, would you like to?
Yes, Sarah, I'm here because I think agenda item 5, there is potential discussion for the cleaning. Cleaning seems to be prevalent at the moment, cleaning of the pavements in the town centre. So I was asked to attend in case there were any questions arising out of our proposal.
Right. Okay then. Lovely. Okay then. So we'll right. Okay. So you're part of the cleaning team then. Basically.
That's correct. Yeah. We are part of the Forces group, living in Henley and our office and head office is just next to the town hall at Broadgates. So we've just finished the clean a few weeks ago over the summer, and now looking at how do we sustain that, through the years ahead.
Sure. Okay. Lovely. Thank you very much, Sean. Councillor Gavashak.
Thank you, Chair. I am speaking in public participation because I'm not a member of this committee, but I would like to invite you to ask me to, speak when you come to item 5 about the solar bins, and also item 9, the Anthony Lane Foundation on trees. Invite me to speak, but I will take no part in the discussion afterwards, and of course I will not vote because I'm not a member of this committee. The other thing I just will note is that the Henley bus started today, and I was sat on the bus for an hour going around the town, and it's a fantastic service. There were on my route 10 or 15 passengers already, and they were incredibly grateful to the Henley Town Council for doing it. So real praise for us for actually setting it up and getting on with it. And it was a very, very smooth ride. So thank you, Henley Town Council. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Gavashak. Okay, moving on now to item 4, which is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on Zoom on the 1st of September 2020, which you have in your pack. Councillor Hamilton.
I so propose.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, thank you. All in favour? Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, item 5, which is the Henley housekeeping. You'll see a wonderful looking proposal in your pack, which is to keep the town looking greater, I like to think. We've got a report on the town centre cleaning and the additional budget that will be required. I don't know. Do you want to go through this, Helen, or is there any questions? Is it all clear? I mean, to me, it all makes absolute sense.
So the budget we could cover under budget, but if you wanted, Nikki prepared the report, so I don't know whether, Nikki, you've got any points you want to raise particularly.
Thank you, Nikki.
Well, it was actually Sean's report.
Thank you, Sean.
Is it over to me again?
Yes. Do you want to say anything at this point, Sean?
There we go. I've got a face for radio more than video. But anyway, well, really, it's how deep and far you want to go into this. As I said at the intro, we did the summer clean. We were pleased with the result. It wasn't easy. There are challenges, as we all know, around the town, and it's really trying to maybe challenge the idea of, rather than doing a large clean and a couple of small cleans, we understand there's a limited budget. I think having done it, been out there in the evenings and the mornings with the guys, I think a different approach, and my proposal really just touches on the highlights. And I think if we can touch the high traffic areas, I mean, I've become quite precious about town. seeing what people do. I'd love to introduce the blue shoes you put on at a swimming pool to stop people messing up our streets. But there are some very poignant areas around Starbucks, around the bus stops, and really a 1, 2, 3 times a year clean isn't enough if you want to stay on top of it. And I think, it's a panacea to think we're going to keep the streets crystal clean all the time. But I think we've got to challenge ourselves to keep it looking good so that people don't think it's okay to drop rubbish, to drop chewing gum, and to, quite frankly, make the place look a state of, particularly around those sort of what I call the high traffic areas. So my proposal is, rather than treating every street in every area the same, we have to break it down into high traffic, medium traffic, and low traffic, and spend our money where it really impacts and gives us the right feel for the town. And then following on from that, making sure we put it in at the right time of the year for key area or things that the council might regard as key times, such as maybe a return of the regatta festival and Christmas, as an example. So it's really trying to find a flexible way to deliver that clean within a budget.
Lovely.
And it's simple as the more budget, the more time we can put into the clean. But we understand there's a limited budget and limited time. So that was.
I think we might have a couple of questions for you. Thank you for that, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, on the on any type of jet washing, because I see well on several companies that have been out jet washed the areas, Suffolk District Council and other contractors. Now, when you jet wash stuff, especially when you've got that type of stone, because that stone is sort of porous, you are opening the stone up, and you're in some of it, if you jet wash quite a lot, you will break up the pigments of the thing, and you open it, it's like a sponge. You open it up, ready to catch all the soil and all the other stuff. So as soon as you've cleaned it, it will blow all the dirt out of all those crevices in that stone, and then fills up with dirt, and then it looks dirty again. Is there any way of sealing that stone once you've gone over? And the other thing is, when you've got loose joints, not so much in the summertime, when all the joints of the groutings all come out of the stones, what that causes is when you get the frost and the water soaks between the stones, then you get the really hard winters and the frost, and it starts lifting the stones and starts breaking more, pointing out. So then when you come again next year, you'll wash a bit more, pointing out, to the point that it really needs pointing back in. And obviously any areas that do get uncovered really need to be pointed back in, because what you do is it just lifts the slabs eventually, and that point will come out, but it will increase coming out the more you jet wash it.
No, sorry, do I address you as councillor? I think that's a very good point, and I think it's something we're very aware of. The time of year you clean, but that stone, that York stone, is extremely porous, and you're right, every time you clean it, you're opening up the pores. It would be great to think that we can put a process in to close those pores and then make it a more sustainable clean. But realistically, the cost of putting a product or a system to close those pores is probably unrealistic. It's something I've looked at, and you're talking tens of thousands of pounds to do that. So it's one of those things, we can definitely look at it, because if you can close the pores on any natural stone, it will keep it cleaner. So it is always a balance. And when it comes to the grouting, Nikki and Helen have already asked me to look at that. I think it's obvious there is a problem with some of the grouting in town, and most of that has been caused by contractors, particularly in the marketplace, opening up the marketplace and putting slabs down with basically mud and stone in between the gaps. So we've definitely got some issues there that need to be addressed. And if they were addressed, then we wouldn't have the problems of ingress of water, etc. So we're very, very aware of the complications of cleaning, but it's with a view to trying to move things forward. And I say, if we can keep on top of things, we think we can move forward. But if the town has an appetite to close off areas, clean it, and close off those pores, then we could definitely look at it. But it's an extremely expensive process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Froze for a second, Sarah.
Who's froze? Oh. Can you hear me?
Now.
Good.
Yes.
Will. Councillor Hamilton.
Oh, thank you. Firstly, thank you, Sean, for the outstanding clean in the summer. I thought you and your team did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I'm all for keeping it clean. However, we do have to do, as you say, within time and within budget. I note the pause, etc., and sealing the pause. However, my personal view is that we should focus now on the joints. And by focusing, we do need to do regrouting. There are 3 areas that need regrouting. One is outside Lawrence Menswear, and that really is where lorries have been onto the pavement and they've broken the joints. Outside Block, as Barry Wood has already raised, there's an area there that needs grouting, and that's really been caused by the dray from whichever pub it is, Argyle, the Argyle dray. That's been caused there. And outside Starbucks, yes, I understand. New manager Starbucks comes in, and we don't get the same service perhaps that we were getting in terms of the previous manager in terms of cleaning that area. So we really need to ask the shops to do the cleaning as well as doing our yearly cleans. I'm in favour of cleans or quarterly cleans, but I think as a group we should be looking at specifically at the grouting to get the grouting back up to standard.
Yeah, so I have actually a meeting. Sorry, do you mind?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Sean is getting costs for doing that, and we're just waiting for those to come in. And we have made a small provision for it in the numbers that we've put together. And the other thing which Sean recommends, which we are wholeheartedly in agreement with, is as soon as you've done a clean, it's somebody spilled a drink on it. So if we can spread our budget out and do smaller cleans over a much longer period on a monthly basis, we will keep the town looking better for longer.
I agree. Councillor Arlott.
Why are we considering grouting pavements, which are Oxfordshire County Council highways? Who's given the town council permission to grout those? Because I think you might find. Can I finish, please? I think you might find that you'll need Oxfordshire County Council's permission to do that. We may well do the marketplace. That's fine. We have that under control. Just going on to the cleaning, and I think we should name and shame here. And Starbucks has been mentioned once, and it's going to be mentioned again now. I was out with Dave today, and when we got to Starbucks, what did we see? We saw coffee cups on the floor, coffee running down the square. It was absolutely atrocious, and I bet you a pound to a penny they didn't clean any of that away this evening. And I blame the town council for this. They have an agreement with the town council to clean up after they've finished, and they are not doing that. And in my view, if they can't keep it clean, they don't rent it. It's as simple as that. So that's the first thing. Anybody renting off the town council, land off the town council, they clean it up every evening. And if they don't wish to do that, they don't get a contract to use the area. So that's the first thing. The markets are another one, and I think this is probably down to Nikki. I think every plot in the market should be checked after they've completed on market day. And there's certain areas there, and Dave will tell you again, there's certain areas there that aren't clean. They just pick up all their stuff and just walk away. So that's the first 2 things we need to do. We need to get any outside organisation using our property, clean it. And especially once we've just paid a fortune to get it clean. Just go on to this monthly charge of £1,514 plus VAT. What is it? There's no detail with it. You just give me a bog standard figure that I'm going to put in your coffers, Sean. What exactly is £1,514 for?
So in the proposal, am I on? Okay. In the proposal, what I've detailed is a series and a program of cleans throughout the year, and it's very much to discuss and work through with the town. So rather than do every area in block, we've basically broken the town down into high traffic areas, medium traffic areas, and plotted out exactly the type. Well, it's going to be a mixture between rotary cleaning, sweeping, and brushing, depending on what it is required. But if you look at the map in the proposal, you can see we've got high traffic areas marked in red, we've got medium traffic areas marked in orange, and low traffic and in yellow, and then the non-York stone in grey. And the proposal is, rather than do a small clean, there are certain areas of the small clean that need to be done more often, is our recommendation, and there's some areas that probably only need to be cleaned once or even once every 2 years. So rather than treat every area exactly the same, so we're effectively cleaning as required by the town council, but in a slightly different method, if that makes sense.
Can I just ask something, Sean? I noticed, I'm looking at the map, and Duke Street is it's quite hardcore with traffic outside Starbucks. On the other side of the road, on Bell Street, it doesn't seem quite as. Do you not think that needs as much?
I don't. I think, Sarah, if I'm honest, this is our. I haven't sat there and studied it like a survey. It's just my appreciation of the town. I live in town and see it, and I'm trying to make it work. But I think what the proposal I'm trying to do, cleaning can be very dynamic. And it's best to be dynamic because you need to move as the town evolves and changes. So this is what my best estimate, and the point I put in the proposal is, if we sit down every 3 months and review progress and how we're getting on, we can shift and change things, but we're working within a budget and to what I think will deliver the best clean for the town.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and I think it's great. I'm just trying to sort of understand the map with the cleaning levels, and I've noticed sort of Grays Road, there's just one yellow blob for the kebab shop, and then
sorry, just so the way that it's when you look at the different types of stone that we have the York stone, which is extremely attractive, and that's where we would tend to focus because it's where you get the best results, notwithstanding understanding the porous nature of that stone. When you start getting onto the concrete, there is only so much you can do to really make an effect. The clean we've just finished, we rotary cleaned everything, but the marked difference, if you looked at Grays Road or Reading Road after we cleaned it, there isn't a huge amount of difference, but we've given it back, put it back to a foundation clean. And I say, we can look at it as we go, but the place where you do have a problem is the kebab shop. Now, whether that's the responsibility of the owners of the shop is another matter, but from a cleaning perspective, that needs attention because you can clearly see the fat, etc., ingraining itself into the pavements.
I mean, after what Councillor Arlett has just said, perhaps we should speak to the kebab shop and perhaps ask them to clean.
Can I stop you, Chairman? I went past the kebab shop the other day, and what were they doing out there with a brush and a broom and a proper liquid to clean the pavement? They were literally scrubbing the pavements outside there.
Okay.
And I was very impressed with what they were doing.
Okay. Councillor Hamilton.
I like the idea of a rotary clean every year because I think that gives it a deep clean or a tier 3 clean or whatever you want to call it. We should be getting as Councillor Arlett has said, we should get Starbucks and we should get the kebab shop to clean outside their places because that's what they should do. And then we should come round on a yearly basis, or if you want to do it quarterly but break up the budget, fine. Then with a rotary clean, and I think the rotary clean should be focused on the York stone because that is what it does. It basically brings the York stone up to shiny status.
Okay. Does Councillor Reisman?
I've got 2 points I want to make. Firstly, Sean was talking about traffic, and I presume by that you mean number of people walking by, pedestrians, not road traffic.
No, I hope so.
It slightly confused me as I was reading it.
Sorry, no.
It's the prominence of the areas that mean we should. I think the principle of making sure that certain areas are kept especially clean because they're busier and they're also more visible. Which sort of brings me on to my second point about Starbucks, which is that this is a very long-standing problem. That they're a busy organisation. A lot of people do use the area that we lease to them, and one of the difficulties we've had over the years is that Starbucks operate a franchise, and so there's Starbucks as a company don't run it. They franchise it to someone to operate the location. Now, who's our contract with? Is it with the parent organisation, or is it with the franchisee? But either way round, I think we should make it clear. I think the mayor was absolutely right about this. They have a contractual, but also a moral obligation to make sure, and a financial common sense dictates that they should look after that area, make it look smart and stay smart every evening, as we do. Now, what's the right way of doing that? Is it to approach the franchisee, or is it to approach the organisation? Who is it that we have the contract with? Maybe maybe someone can help clarify that.
Vicky.
The Starbucks themselves. It actually goes up to their head office and they sign the license.
In that case, I mean, I think we've had discussions with the franchisee in the past, but I think we should write to the Starbucks organisation itself and explain the problem that we've had over many years, and that we are going to take a tougher line on making sure that the area that they're responsible for is maintained in line with the contract that we offer. Otherwise, I think the mayor is right. We should consider whether or not they should be allowed to lease that area.
Okay.
Sarah, do you mind if I make a quick point?
Sure, yeah.
Just in terms of that, I think it's any shop that can help keep their area clean. Can I just make the point? I think there should be an element of stipulation as to what we expect them to do, because the last thing I want to do is to see people mixing a bit of bleach and chucking water down with bleach in it and find we end up with more problems than it actually creates. So sweeping, using water, but I think there needs to be an element of stipulation, one from a safety point of view, and secondly, not messing up the stone for other reasons, because I have been in the industry 20 odd years and there's been some horrendous things happen where people just don't understand what they're doing. Cleaning is simple, but it's not easy.
Okay. Well, look, thank you very much for that. I think that's it's a good report, Sean. I'm happy to spread it over the year. I think that's the way forward. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
You know, it doesn't go unnoticed, your passion and, you know, wanting to do the job right, and it's really great. So thank you very much.
Well, that's great. Thanks so much, and I'll chat to you another time.
I just want to move on from this, otherwise we're going to be here.
Okay. Thanks very much for the comments.
Pleasure. Councillor Eggleton, have you got one more question?
One more question. Can you, I don't know whether you can see that, but you probably won't because it's illumination, but that is a picture of the square, but you can't see it. It's cups all over the floor, coffee all over the floor, and pigeons eating whatever's left on the floor.
Oh. Okay, thank you very much for that. Right then, I think we've now got item 2, which is a report on the town centre bins and the budget required. I'm going to call on Councillor Gavishak, I believe, who wanted to. Is he still with us?
I can't see him.
Did he not want to say something about the bins?
No, he didn't. It was the next one, wasn't it?
No.
And the bins.
He said number 5 and number 9.
It's about some of the bins that he wanted to put in, because I think Salvation Council are going to put some eco bins or something in.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to discuss it. I think what we'll do is we'll wait for him to come along. In the meantime, there is a report by Nikki on the Henley bins, and hopefully to try and get some new ones. As you know, the bins that we've got in Henley are aging a bit. They're looking a bit tatty. Councillor Eggleton. Dave? Yep.
Does Helen want to say something first, or shall I finish?
Oh, sorry, Helen.
Don't worry, Dave, carry on.
Well, I've been round to every single bin in the town today with the mayor, Canala. I've been round to every single metal bin. You've got cast iron bins, and you've got cast aluminium bins. The cast aluminium bins are small. Every bin that I've looked at the locks, the doors, the hinges, and the state of them. And I've got pictures of every single bin. And because from what I've seen in here, the price are for individual bins and to replace them if you're gonna, well, slightly cheaper if you buy 30 of them. Every single bin can be refurbished. I don't know why we ain't going down that route, why we haven't got someone in to refurbish them, because there are loads of companies. I have looked up quite a few companies that refurbish, where they sandblast and re-powder coat. Now, the damage to the bins is because we put salt down all the time, because I've got a friend that does sandblasting and everything else, and he's looked at one of the bins, and he's told me the reason you've got corrosion more on aluminium than you have on cast iron. Cast iron tends to rust, aluminium tends to corrode and gets a white powder on it. And when you get that is through salt erosion. That's because when you put salt on there, it erodes around the bottom of the bins. Now, all the bins are all solid in structure and all the things. Some of the catches need replacing on the doors, and the internal liner, the bin liners inside, the metal bin liners. There's loads of companies that produce those in any shape or size you want. So once you replace those, you could, I think personally, you could have a bin taken away or several bins taken away, sandblasted, powder coat, and you could probably get them done for 150 to £200 each. The internal liners, you're probably looking at probably about 20 quid each. So I think from the ones I've looked at, all the bins need internal liners because they're the ones that are rotted away. Apart from taking out and putting back for a couple of £100 rather than spending £400 on a bin. Or £500 if you're buying only a few, because you're only going to get a discount if you're buying probably 30. I don't think you need, well, I know you don't need 30 bins. There's nothing wrong with those bins. They just want repainting and regilding, and they'll be as good as new for another 20 years.
Thank you very much, Councillor Everton. Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I agree with Dave actually on this. Some of those bins are looking a bit tatty and they need a refresh. But the majority of the bins, in my view, are perfectly good. So I would propose that we take a couple of the bins out on a test and send them to whoever Dave suggests, sandblast them and get them back and see what they look like before we go ahead with buying new bins. There probably will be 20 of the 30 bins that could be refurbished, and then there may be a couple that are dodgy that need to be replaced. But I think we should go down that route first, and I so propose.
I'm just going to, Councillor Reisman.
Well, I think I broadly agree with what Councillor Egerton and Councillor Hamilton have said. The bins are good quality bins, and they are not looking at their best at the moment. And they were, I remember the time when they were bought. They were bought with the aim of being long term. And although they've already lasted nearly 25 years, I don't see any reason why they can't, with suitable refurbishment, last another 25. Cast iron is a long-standing material, and I don't see we should be replacing them. I like the look of the cast iron bins. The main problem that we have with them is perhaps that they're not big enough or not numerous enough, and we need to make sure that we have enough. I don't like the idea at all of these aluminium or mild steel bins, which aren't very long-lived, quickly look tired and dilapidated, and seem to me to be an expensive solution in search of a problem. We have bins already. We should just refurbish them and recycle and reuse them as a good green council should. So I'm not sure whether or not taking away one or two to be refurbished, as Councillor Hamilton says, is the right thing to do. But I think we should be in contact with organisations which are able to do this and ask them for quotes. I think we should go out and ask for how the bins can be refurbished and allow a spec to be drawn up.
Thank you. Can I do Councillor Hillier? And then I'll come to you, Helen. You're on mute, Lorraine.
Still on mute, Lorraine.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Eggleton's comments, and but I just think there is also an argument for replacing some of the bins where there's high usage. Like we picked up on the pizza boxes, for instance, down by Domino's. which are obviously too big to fit in our bins. So I think there's an argument for like 1 or 2 bins in the town where we do need them replacing with bigger bins, but I agree with the general refurbishment programme.
Helen.
Sheridan, did you want to go first, or are you happy for me to go first? So I was just going to say that we can certainly do that. There are a number of different kinds of bin, and I think the key to this is that we have heritage bins, and we are a heritage town. And always in the paperwork that I've seen, you know, we are custodians of what our town looks like. We can certainly undertake that. We can take several of the bins off to be refurbished and see how they turn out. Because we're not about spending money if we don't need to, but what we want is a town that looks lovely. Ken has also suggested perhaps taking away some of the bins and replacing them in different areas. We obviously have to agree that with SODC because they have to empty some of the bins, so we need to agree that with them as well. But we can certainly do that and make the bins look much better. And then we can come back to you if we can't make them look better, and we can decide on an appropriate action.
Thank you. Is that your finger? Is that your hand up, Sheridan? Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes. Thank you very much. I would say that the councillors need much more information before they can make an informed decision. In the recommendation, it says that councillors are asked to approve a budget. In order to approve a budget, you would need to know how much you need to spend and what are the budgetary implications of that. You need to know the financial implications of that. I'm concerned that there isn't enough information in this report. We need to have a schedule of the condition of all the bins. Need to know how many of them are need refurbishing or replacing. What the costs of refurbishing or replacing is, and what the ramifications of that are. None of this should take a long time, but in order for the council to make an informed decision, you need to have all those options and costings. Whilst you've been given a number of possible bins that you could go for, what it would be good to see is obviously a recommendation for the right size bin and the right size place of the right quality and design and reasonings why that bin is recommended. However, this would obviously not preclude the councillors from to agreeing to say a trial refurbishing, as has been suggested, of say one or two bins. But I would say, with regard to the recommendation that you approve a budget to replace bins, I would recommend that that does not happen until you're provided with all the necessary detail.
Thank you, Town Clerk. No, I'm very happy for us to look at refurbishing the bins. I think as long as we do something, the bins are, I think, in an awful state, and I think that we need to really look at like for like with, you know, as Helen said, you know, exactly the same bins, get them out, get them either refurbished or new ones, but let's do a trial. If Councillor Eggleton can put forward the company that, you know, if we're looking at a couple of £100, that's great. That's going to save us a lot of money. So yeah, happy for that. Councillor Hamilton, then I want to move on to Councillor Gavishak.
I will make the proposal that we go for a refurbishment programme. It's quite clear that from the councillors that we want heritage bins that are the right size and the right place, and do a trial in order to see how they can be refurbished. And I think we should progress with that, and then assign a budget once we get a report back.
Okay. Have I got a seconder for that proposal?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Seconded by Councillor Arlott. Okay, all in favour of that? Yeah, I'm happy for that. Lovely. Okay, moving on. Councillor Gavishak, I know.
Move on,
sorry.
Before you move on, it was suggested that we assign an amount in the budget. for this. And of course, we're coming on at agenda item shortly to consider the 21-22 budget. And presumably, is it envisaged that we do that in this financial year or next financial year? And if it's going to be the next financial year, we can consider this as part of the future item. But if we're going to take it out of this year's budget, should we set aside a? Are we going to? Do we need now to set aside a sum that we envisage as being the cost? And bearing in mind what the town clerk said, I can see that the town centre manager is keen to respond.
I think we need more details. Helen, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. We certainly haven't got anything in the budget to do it this year. This is for setting the budgets for next year. So we have got time to do all of the homework that we need to do and bring it back on the 23rd of November so that you can have a more considered report. And then obviously our new budgets will start in the spring. So it would be a campaign to run through the spring. We can try and do what we can to tidy the town up now. And obviously in the winter, the pavements aren't quite so bad, but still we would like to get the regime agreed for what we will do from the spring onwards. And that's really what these are about, because we do not have any current budget to do it with.
In that case, I think we should, in the agenda item, when we come to the budget, or now, set aside a sum that just so that we're aware that there's a line item for next year's budget created as a result of this meeting, and that we can start to look at the figures. Because if for example, we're looking at much too large a deficit, then we might have to bear down on these. And if we don't put this in the budget today, then we'll be looking at an unrealistic figure perhaps for the next cycle.
Okay, what kind of figure though? I mean, I wouldn't know what figure to put for this, so.
It's in. We've put 20,000. We've put 20,000 for cleaning, and then we've put an additional 20,000 for grouting. If we do need to put some input into that, we will speak to OCC, obviously. But there's also chewing gum removal and bins. So we've put a finger in the wind and put 20,000 in as a line, which we will break down further when we've got more information. Okay. And that's in the next report.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gavashak, I know you've included a report on the solar street bin, and I believe that you would like to say something about this.
Yes, thank you, Chair, for this. I'm sorry I lost you for a moment. I was right mare of an internet connection, so hopefully I better speak quickly. Right, on page 16 of your agenda, there is a report, well, from me via Nikki and Helen, about the PEL waste reduction solar street bin. Yeah, the first time I came across this was when Jeff Luckett and I were having a walk around the town. He had his Henley Society hat on, I had my county councillor hat on, and we were looking at waste and bins and stuff like that. And we thought there are two areas, Singers Park and also Starbucks, where the trial of some more capacity would be useful. Jeff actually did a lot of research on solar bins. What these are bins with a compactor built in, and they take 10 times the capacity of a normal bin. So the thing fills in automatically, it senses it's 90% full, and then it squashes down, and then etc, etc, etc. And it's the waste goes into rather like a wheelie bin. SODC would actually just empty the bins in their normal regime. And what I'm suggesting is that we trial. The first thing is they actually look quite good. They look like our heritage bins, and we can badge them as we want. That we trial two of these bins, one at Singers Park and one at Starbucks. And I will pay 50% of the rental fee, and Henley Society will actually pay for 50% of the rental fee. We would have them from March for 6 months as a trial, and then we can decide whether they work, whether they're good, whether they're ugly, and we may purchase them going forward. I would hope that it would not fall on the Henley Town Council to buy them, that we would find external sources for that. So I'll take any questions and then I will leave you to debate. Thank you.
Councillor Gavishak. Councillor Eggleton.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everybody's frozen. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Because everybody seems to freeze.
We all hear you, Dave.
Yeah.
Right.
We can all hear you.
Thank you, Glenn. The only thing with impactor or compactor bins, that if people, especially outside Starbucks, if you look at the bin outside Starbucks already, when people chuck their half cups of coffee or half bottles of drink or beer or whatever they chuck in there, and you've got a compactor, where's all this liquid going to go? All over the pavements and running down the drains? Because I can't see that they're going to have a built-in thing to take the fluids. If you're going to put an impactor, it's got to be dry goods, really, because otherwise what you're doing is you're squashing that all down, and then it's going to be all over the pavements in wherever area you put it. If you was going to have one of those type of impactor bins, which I think is good for a volume amount of rubbish, to be a grass verge somewhere, or somewhere where it will absorb all the liquids from in the bin.
Good point, Councillor.
Well, the bin is exactly the same as a normal bin. If people put liquid waste into a normal bin, it goes into a normal bin. This is actually a solid plastic container with a bin liner inside it, so there won't be any spilling of liquids going forward. These bins have been installed in probably about 6 or 7 local authorities all over Great Britain, and all we've had is very good reports. The answer is we try it, and if we hit pitfalls and problems, then we can ask them to take it away. We've got it's not a 6-month contract, it's a month-by-month contract. So therefore, if it is causing problems, then they go.
I mean, somebody saying so. I don't see that there is a problem with at least trialing it. I'm always open to trialing things. You know, as long as my only concern with these bins is they stick out like a sore thumb. But if we can put one in, you know, if we can have the Henley Town Council, I think we can have the green, can't we, Stefan? Councillor Gavishak?
Yes. Yeah. They'll be in Henley Green.
Henley Green. We can
Henley
have
badge.
the logo. I mean, I've been reading.
Are we on debate or questions?
Sorry?
Are we on debate or questions here?
Well, okay. I was just talking about how I think it's a very good idea to trial it, but why? Councillor Hamilton, do you have a question?
No, I haven't got any questions. I just looking for clarification from you. We were going to do questions, then we we're going to go on to debate, and you started debating, so I thought I'd ask for clarification from you.
Well, your hand wasn't up, Councillor Hamilton. If it was up, then I would understand that you wanted to ask Councillor Gavishak a question. Would you like to ask him a question?
No questions.
Lovely. Does anybody want to ask Councillor Gavishak a question at all? Councillor Eggleton.
I just want to ask one more question. Now, if we're talking about bins and putting more bins in the square, there's already a few shop owners a bit concerned about the pavements. If you actually, because I've been all the way around town today, the pavements are getting filled up with quite a lot of things, with Zoom boxes, big Zoom boxes, small ones. I mean, you've got a collection of boxes either side of the pavement now. You've got post boxes, you've got bins, you've got lampposts, you've got to bear in mind there are a lot of partially sighted people in Henley, and you've made all these pavements. I think the scheme was let's make wide pavements. Let's make it a pedestrianised area in Henley, and let's create these big wide pavements for the footfall of Henley. And then when you make these big wide pavements, you just fill them with rubbish bins, lampposts, and everything else. It's just a mass of street furniture and everything else on these pavements. Just go and have a look round to see what I've seen today, and it is quite mind-boggling when you see how many obstructions on these pavements. And also you've got to think of, and that's without the A-boards, you've got to think of all these partially sighted and people in wheelchairs and everything else, because I don't think anybody actually takes that into the equation.
Well, I'll take that as a question. Of course, this bin, if you're talking about the bottom of the marketplace by Starbucks, has to be placed in a place where it will not cause an obstruction. At the end of the existing bins is where I'm thinking. So therefore, it's an extension of a wheelie bin size on the end of that particular bin. I mean, you've got to balance obstructions and bins with bins overflowing and spewing rubbish onto the pavements. So therefore, I would say give it a go and see what happens. It's certainly, if we are thinking in this area of getting rid of 10 times the amount of rubbish in one bin, it could actually eventually result in the reduction of street furniture.
Possibly.
Councillor Reisman.
Councillor Gavishak talked there about a 10 times reduction. Does that mean that a bin of this sort can take 10 times the volume of one of our existing bins?
Yes.
Is that the sort of number that we're talking about?
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, that's the thing that's come nearest to persuading me that this is worth investigating. I don't think the look of them is going to fit in with the heritage look of the town. But if we can find suitable locations where they'll be used, and it does reduce the amount of overflowing bins that we tend to have, and I think that's worth considering. But I'm still not clear about the locations that we're planning. Because if they're prominent and likely to be used, then they might not have the look that we want, and they might run into the objections that Councillor Eggers was rightly making, that we're cluttering up our pavements further. So I have misgivings about this, but I'm persuaded that a 6-month trial might be worth it if we've got the right locations.
I agree with you, Councillor Reisman. I think we could trial it, but I think location is key here, because right now we can't afford to clutter up our pavements with social distancing as it is at the moment. We need as much space as possible. So I agree, but I would like to try. I would like to trial, but as I said, as long as we all agreed on a suitable location.
I'll just answer Councillor Reisman's question about the capacity, and then I'll leave you to it, and you can go into debate if you wish to. Yes, the idea is it is 10 times the capacity, so I think there is the potential. There is the potential for removing 10 bins off the street in a particular location. The rubbish goes in. There is a compactor. It goes bzzz, down the bin, compacts it, and then there's space for the next lot to go in. As far as locations are concerned, we were just thinking of Singers Park because we have a problem there, and also Starbucks because we have a problem there. I wouldn't want these to go all over the town. Absolutely not. They're too expensive, and there's no need either. Thank you. Okay, I'll leave you to debate. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gavishak.
Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
I've heard what has been said, and I have to say I will not support this proposal for a trial. This, in my view, is a daft proposal. All right, these bins look ugly. They will not sit in our conservation area. They are expensive. They claim to compact, but as Councillor Eggleton has put forward, they won't take liquid. Councillor Reisman made a very good point that we want to keep our heritage bins in the last conversation we had. And in my view, these would look really ugly. They will clutter our pavements, they will give us problems in the town, and we should not go down this trial. I don't know where Councillor Gavashak's got this idea from, but in my view, this would be the worst proposal to go with.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Does anybody else want to say anything about the solar bins? Councillor Reisman.
Well, we've got some images here of the of possible solutions, and we've got some suggestions of possible locations. Is it possible that we can have a more detailed, specific proposal for a 6-month trial with specific bins and specific locations to come to the next committee? And I think, you know, Councillor Hamilton raises some genuine concerns, which I share, but I don't want to shut out the possibility of reducing the amount of litter that we have overflowing our bins. So would that be possible?
Councillor Arlott.
Yeah, Councillor Hamilton's given all the reasons why I would support this. Thank you.
Councillor Lambert, sorry.
Hi, no worries. Yes, I've heard what everyone's said. Comments. I agree with many of them, especially Ian Reisman. Councillor Reisman. I would like to see a fully costed proposal for a trial come to the next meeting. I do think they look very different, but I think, you know, we are a heritage town, but we're also a modern town, and we'd like to be at the forefront of something like this if it's a good idea. And the best way to know if it's a good idea is always to try it. There's no harm in at least trying it and considering it, you know, given, obviously suitable costings, but that's it.
It's free.
Give it a go.
You know, Nikki.
Sorry, but on page 16, there is a fully costed suggestion, a recommendation on there. It is fully costed, and Stefan said he's going to pay for it.
Even more problem, because whereas Councillor Gavashak has put forward a trial at which he would contribute towards, we then get hit with a bill for $6,000 from what I read from this proposal. So I really think we should park this one, and let's concentrate on sorting out our heritage bins, get them all looking spick and span, and not worry about this solar panel bin, which in my view is a daft proposal.
Councillor Arlott.
I propose we accept 4.2 on the agenda. On page 16. It's no cost to the council.
Okay. Can I hang on? Councillor Thomas and then Councillor Isaac. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. Can we not do a campaign with the general public about raising awareness of just not using disposable cups from coffee shops? I mean, there are so many different reusable ones on the market now. Can we not work with perhaps Henley plastic reduction and just try and do some awareness or something in the town centre on a few Saturdays? I'd be quite happy to stand in Marketplace and not hand out some leaflets, because that would be, but you know, I don't know what, just try and work with Henley plastic reduction first of all, getting the message out there. We don't want single-use, it's not even plastic, it's not recyclable at all. Please don't use them. Buy one of these reusable cups. They're from as little as £2-3, and you can keep using them again and again. I think you get a discount on your coffee as well if you bring them into a coffee shop. Can we do that first?
Has it not been done already? Helen? You're on mute.
You're on mute, Helen.
You're still on mute.
Okay, so we have tried this in the past, and we worked with Sarah and with Julia Carey. We've worked with our attractions. We've worked with the coffee shops. It's it's just, you know, as much as we would like to see it as a priority, we will only make a baby step, and it won't prevent the amount of the quantity. Also, the rubbish quantities went up when we had lockdown. People are now using single use again because of COVID. So, you know, happy to try again, Sarah, you know, with your help.
Always happy.
And, you know, we can make it another campaign.
Yeah.
To try to do that, because it is the right thing to do. It's just how effective it would be compared to the amount of waste that we do have. And as part
that was going to be my question, actually, is just when did you do it? Was it pre or post lockdown? Thank you.
Yeah, it was pre. And also, as Parks will tell you, as RNA will tell you, the volume of rubbish that's been generated since lockdown has gone up significantly.
Okay. Councillor Isaac.
Yeah, I just have my hand up to second Ken's proposal.
Okay. Are we okay? Councillor Reisman. Do we need to vote on this? Sorry.
Can I make an amendment?
Yeah, okay.
Recommendations we need to vote on.
Can I ask that an amendment be made that if the trial goes ahead, it's made outside of the conservation area?
Okay.
I don't accept that.
Okay. Could I, Councillor Reisman?
I'd like to propose an amendment that we go ahead, but only after a specific proposal on location and the type of bin is brought to the next committee meeting.
I would like to make a proposal that we just try one bin at Singers Park.
I'll second that.
And that's it. One bin, Singers Park, and see how it goes. But okay.
Can I propose that pizza boxes, anybody with pizza boxes taken to Singers Park?
Well, no, it's okay then. Well, we need to make a decision. Councillor Reisman, could you repeat what you just said, your proposal?
I was suggesting that we go ahead as per Councillor Arlett's proposal, but that only on the basis of a specific location and type of bin or locations. Now that's brought to the next meeting of this committee for approval.
So we've got okay. I'm happy to second that, Councillor Reisman.
See if Councillor Arlett accepts it.
All in favour of it coming back to the next town and community?
Councillor Arlett's got to accept it.
Oh, sorry.
Well, we can vote on it, but he can accept it if he wants.
Councillor Arlett, are you happy for it to come back? Are you happy to?
Break up, Ken. I'm okay. Sorry. I'm waiting for Councillor Miller to speak.
Sorry, Councillor Arlett. Councillor Reisman has proposed that we accept this on the condition that I think we confirm as long as the location is agreed by all of us.
That's fine. I'm happy with that.
Yes. As long as we are all happy with the location.
That's fine.
So you're happy with that? Is everybody happy? Are we all in favour of? Are you voting, Councillor Eggleton?
No, I'm just saying because you proposed about putting one down in the meadows, we could actually do this now if we all accept and vote on putting one bin down on the meadows for a trial period based on all the things. And if that works and gets rid of quite a lot of rubbish down there, then we can implement them in one in the town.
I'll second Dave's proposal.
It wasn't the Meadows, Dave. It was Singers Park.
Yeah, Singers Park, then.
Well, Singers and the Meadows, then. At least not have them in the town. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm sorry.
Second
have a report. Read the report.
Point of order.
Town Clerk, I need some help here.
So we had an original motion. The motion was seconded. Then we have an amendment. Where you have an amendment which is proposed, if that amendment is seconded, you debate and resolve that amendment first. And when that has been done, then you can take any other amendments. So you have to take each amendment one by one, vote on those amendments, and then you vote on you vote on the on the motion as a whole. But you have to take each amendment as it comes up and resolve that amendment.
Okay. So which amendment came first? Was that my amendment, wasn't it?
That was Ian's.
Ian's.
I would like to second Ian's amendment. Can we now vote on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Hallelujah. Everyone vote.
Everyone vote.
Now Dave's amendment. I like now propose Dave's amendment.
That wasn't accepted
Chairman, I'm
yet.
just as bad. Can you stop everybody just shouting out, please?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Come on, everybody. Okay, then. So Councillor Riceman's made a proposal. It's been seconded, and we've all voted on that. Oh, are we good to go on? Move on now, or are
we vote on the amended proposal now?
Sorry.
Yes. We vote on the amended proposal. So Ken's original proposal as amended.
Right. But we've just voted on that, haven't we?
No, we voted on my amendment.
We voted on Ian's.
There's now.
So we're voting on going ahead with it, but only after we've approved the location, the type of bins at the next committee meeting.
Okay.
That's the
In
amendment.
favour? All those against? Yeah. Right.
Does Dave want to make his further proposal?
It was my last proposal. Do we want to vote on that? Should we just move on?
No, I'll second your last.
Can we just move on now? Because I think, you know, I'm happy with Councillor Riceman's proposal. Everybody's happy, so I think we'll move on.
Let's move on.
Okay, thank you. Item 6 on the agenda is the budget, and that's to receive and consider the management accounts, which are attached. Do we have any questions at all on the attached accounts?
So, shall I?
Sorry, who said something?
Do you want me to run through them, or are you happy just that they're all there? As you'll see, we have put in the cost of the PCSO.
Yeah.
Everything's detailed in the schedule, which is attached, but we've assumed, which is obviously for this group, that the councillors wish to include the following significant costs, which are the PCSO, town centre management, which includes the additional 20,000 for those items that we don't have specific costs for yet, as one line, which will be broken down further when we have got those costs bottomed out. But we wanted to put a provision in at this point so that there is money in for next year to make sure that we are able to keep the town looking as good as we can. And the staff costs broadly in line for the information centre. Some of these figures, of course, with the new regime, when we'll be transferring to other committees, but what each of the committees is doing at this point is to have everything approved within their remit currently before it goes off to its new pasture, so that everything has been accounted for. And discussions have been had between all of the relevant people to set these budgets. And then the Schedule 2s, which indicate all of the fees, which is the on page 37. After quite a lot of discussion, the seating licenses, the upper marketplace permits, the charter markets, and the farmers markets, we have decided to keep at the same rate as last year. We did have a 5% increase last year on the upper marketplace parking. It is above every other parking in Henley at the moment. And of course, also to mention that the lease and the use of Singers Park and the Red Lion Lawn and the mooring licenses will be considered by RNA, because they are all licenses and they fall now under RNA. So the lack of increases really reflects the state of a lot of the businesses who were closed for 4 months, and the markets who obviously are trading at a lower capacity because we can't have quite so many people because of social distancing.
No, okay. And the action plan,
action plan, yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't get that back to you in time, Sarah. So I'll put together a full action plan for the next T&C meeting, which we'll go through in detail.
Really useful for all the councillors to see as well. So that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, it was just impossible with everything else that we're trying to put to bed and build for the future.
Okay.
Helen, so Sarah, I realise that Helen's not had time to put together a detailed plan for the action plan, but maybe it would help all of us to understand what sort of things have you done this year to give us an idea of what you'll present next time, just so our minds are a bit clearer about the sort of uses of money.
Of course. So we have a cycling leaflet for Midsummer, which is in production at the moment. We have further walking leaflets for Midsummer. We've made a variety of different changes to the Visit Henley, which is a major tourism vehicle. So that's for residents and for visitors from outside of Henley. We've also been spending a little bit of money on promoting Henley as a destination. So via our friends at Tourism South East, the leaflet which I sent round to you all the other day. We've also been working with Thames, Visit Thames. We're also working with Windsor, Reading, Marlow and Maidenhead to try and make us an attractive proposition. So we've been working with GWR to do some work with them. We have some posters which are seasonal, and we will be promoting the as a staycation. What else came out of that budget? If you can bear with me, I can just pull one up quickly. We've also the Health and Wellbeing Day. Some of the general trail maps came out of it as well, and the Science Day, the Great Westway Lunch. So we have hosted a number of small delegations of journalists coming to the town. We also had some branded promotional items for the staff who are working at our events, and some work with the Great Westway, because we're an ambassador for them as well, with Visit Wiltshire. Some other sponsorship that we did with A Foot in the Chilterns, and some green notice board replacement, and a few other bits and pieces. So
that's lovely.
Yeah, is that enough for you? I mean, that's just to give you a flavour. And obviously some of them were sort of packaged together as projects, so they've sort of encompassed. So we'll really think about, and I think what's going to be really important, which is why I couldn't just knock something up really quickly to go with this, was because we're going to need to think really hard about what we need to do as a town coming out of COVID, and trying to work with our attractions and our businesses to make sure that we're meeting all of their needs as well, and there's benefits to them.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Journalists. We were hosting journalists. Who did we invite?
There were Germans. We had a little group of Germans who all went down the river on one of Johnny's boats, but we provided their lunch. We had, so it was mainly foreign journalists.
Okay, super. Okay, so are we happy to resolve to note the draft budget figures for 21-22? Yep, happy to.
Hold on, can I just raise a couple of points?
Yes, Councillor Russell.
Before we move on, we talked about the bins, and Helen mentioned the sum set aside, and the provision for replacement bins is 10k. And if they were replacement, then arguably they'd come under capital, not revenue. If they were refurbished, they'd be revenue, wouldn't they? I'm going to ask the town clerk about this. But if they're going to be replaced, 10k probably wouldn't be enough. If they're going to be refurbished, 10k might be, but it would depend to what extent that covered replacement bins and the grouting and gum. I'm wondering if the town clerk's got any thoughts on whether that number is realistic.
It would really depend on the, as I said earlier, on seeing the schedule of the bins, knowing exactly how many bins we've got in what condition, and so how many need to be replaced in the coming year, and how many will need to be replaced in further years, and then compare that with the cost of new bins or refurbishing them. I agree that refurbishing would be revenue. Would new bins be capital? But potentially, I think an argument could be made that they are capital. But if we buy other major pieces of equipment, we would count those as capital. However, I wouldn't have a problem with it being revenue either. Whether or not that 10k is realistic, I think we really need to have a fuller report, really.
Thank you. Helen.
I'm really happy to do that. We did have a slight, actually, if you look at 3.2 on the front page, I actually put 20,000 in the budget for all of those things for housekeeping. And Liz took one of the figures out of those and put it onto the management report. So it is 10 in the on the schedule 1, and it's actually, I put 20 in 3.2 on the front page. So apologies for that. Liz did know that my intention, because of the nature of what we were doing, was that it was going to be more money. But we are also mindful that, you know, potentially we could try and get some sponsorship. We could, you know, there are other ways to raise funds for some of these things. So we will be looking into some options, because obviously we want to keep the outlay as minimal as we can. And also, if there is now potential for refurbishing, and we will go down, Nikki and I, go and enjoy every single bin, and we will get some proper costs for actual refurbishments and see what we can do to improve them. So it may be that we can take some of the cost out in the long run.
Councillor Eggleton, then I'll come to you, Councillor Hamilton.
Just quickly, there's approximately 20 of the metal bins, and probably about 5 of those are cast aluminium, the rest are cast. That's just the metal bins, not the not big long ones.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Dave? I didn't hear that. What was that?
It's about 20 of the cast iron ones.
Okay.
I haven't gone through them all, but there's about 20, and about 5 of those are cast aluminium. The rest of them are cast iron.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with 3.2 and 3.3. The question I raise is, given we are going to have to look for revenue generation, it may be that the parking permits at Upper Marketplace, it says to remain. I would question that. I think we might have to put them up. I think that what you've just explained, Helen, in terms of sponsorship is a wonderful idea. I think that we potentially could find 20 sponsors in the town to sponsor a bin, and discreetly have a little bronze plaque on it saying this bin was refurbished by, and know which business it was that supported the refurbishment of that bin. So I'm all supportive of a sponsorship program that will reduce our costs to our bottom line.
Thanks, good idea. Thank you very much. Okay, we're good. So we're happy to note the draft budget figures for 2021-22. All in favour? Noted. Yeah, thank you. Item 7 is the street lighting, which is to consider a request that the Town Council investigate improving the street lighting in and around the Henley Centre. Lorraine, is this from you, this request?
It is, yeah.
Do you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I don't know what appetite there is for this, or if I get a seconder to investigate it, but living in the town, I'm aware of how unsafe it is to walk just around the town centre, down certain streets. There are a lot of really dark spots. I mean, at the moment, there's a few lights out, but I think it's time we looked at changing them to the LED lighting. I mean, our lights, our lamps, before they need any repair, like replacement bulbs or parts, they've got about 3 to 4 year lifespan. If you look at LED lighting, you've got about 20 to 25 year. So you're saving on maintenance issues, they're more economical, and you've got more control over them. You can dim the lights. You don't have to have them on bright lights as people think of when they think of LED lighting. It can be subtle. And it gives us an opportunity to look at lighting, I think, at Mill Meadows, for instance, in our public spaces that would make them easy for people's safety. They're a crime deterrent as much as anything, and they make those spaces more usable at night. And I was looking at how we can make Henley more friendly for business and tourism in the evening by having better lighting, safety for motorists, safety for our residents and pedestrians. So I haven't looked in it in any depth, but I'm aware that many are changing, and there's been small market towns and parishes that have changed to LED lighting. And it's something that could be sill payments can go towards it. And we have those powers as a parish council now, if we want to improve street lighting, to look at it. And I just think it's worth an investigation.
Councillor Hamilton.
Can I just ask a couple of questions? Are you referring to the heritage lights in the centre of the town? Because a lot of the roads, Grays Road at the top, they've all gone over to LEDs already. So is it specifically the centre of the town that you're thinking of?
No, I'm looking at the streets around, like if you go down Station Road, if you go down Queen Street, it's very poorly lit. Friday Street is, along the Reading Road. It's just...
I think what we should be doing is asking the county councillors to do a report on it then, because it's his responsibility.
Well, it is and it isn't, but because we can look at it as a parish council, we can look at asking, I mean, I don't know how much money or help we'd get from county at the moment with everything as it is, but it's something that certainly still payments can go towards. And it's just an idea. And also there's what's coming up is intelligent street lighting. So these lampposts, they also provide charging points. They do advertising. They can have speakers that issue warnings. They can control traffic movements. There's so much more that's happening, and maybe we should start moving now so that we're up to speed with this new technology.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hilliard. Does anyone want to talk on this, or
shall I put a motion?
You can.
Well, it's just the motion to, if we could, I propose we investigate improving street lighting in and around Henley.
Thank you. Councillor Eggleton, are you seconding that? Okay. Are we all in favour of investigating street lighting in Henley?
In the Henley Town Centre. In
the Henley Town Centre, yeah? Okay, that's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, let's move on. Item 8 is the events subcommittee. The minutes of the events subcommittee on the 2nd of October, which are again in your pack. Are we happy to approve? Does anybody have any questions on this? Sorry. Councillor Arlott.
Could I just ask when the next meeting is? It's got to be confirmed.
Yeah, that's something that me and Helen,
we'll try and have, yeah.
We haven't put a date in the diary yet, have we?
We haven't. We'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be good. It was a good meeting. We had two members of the public. We had Philippa Ratcliffe and Bea. I don't know what Bea's surname is, Helen, I think.
Pearson.
Pearson. Pearson both came along with lots of ideas. So it was good. Are we happy to note the minutes? Yeah, noted. Okay, thank you.
Can I just make a point, Chair? I had a letter this morning from Emma Taylor regarding the reindeer, and she's pleased that we haven't got reindeer in the town. So I just wanted to make that point, and the reindeer will be at peace because they've been cancelled. But please don't bring them back on the quiet, as it were.
Oh, thank you for letting us. No, we've got donkeys this year, Will. Okay, item 9. I'd like to call Councillor Gavashak, who I believe would like to speak on the Anthony Lane foundation trees.
Yes, Chair, thanks very much. Right, we're on page 44 of your agenda. And there's a very full report with full information, full costings, and full locations for these trees. The Transport Strategy Group have over the years had a policy of actually greening Henley. That's why we've got the planters with the shrubs in Duke Street and Bell Street, and I'm sure everybody will agree that in fact they have enhanced and beautified the town. It's also been a dream, if you like, to actually put some trees down Hart Street. Now, if you want to put trees down the centre of Hart Street, you are talking about huge expense because it would involve serious traffic engineering. So I'm not proposing that. What I am proposing is that at the head of Hart Street, outside Harrison Hall and also Mark Antony, we put 2 trees. The trees cannot be dug into the pavements because that would involve, serious consultation of OCC because there are so many utilities under the pavements. And the Tony Lane Foundation approached me to see whether there was a way of actually contributing to the town. And we thought on the Transport Strategy Group that this would be a good option. So they are going to pay for the planters, the installation, the trees, and also the maintenance for 2 years. After 2 years, we will then have to decide to either get more funding, remove them, or take over them on the maintenance going forward. All of the costs are in your budget, but all of the costs are in your papers. But they would, but the Tony Lane Foundation is going to pay all of the costs. There are 2 sort of decisions to be made here. A, do you want them? And B, you either delegate or gift it to the chair and the town clerk to agree the wording that would go on a plaque on the side of the planters. If you look on page 45, you will see what the planter will look like. It's a 1 meter square cube, and at the bottom of page 45, it is the specimen tree that we have got information from Miles of window flowers. It's a large mature tree. It's probably about 20 or 22 years old already, so therefore I think it will look spectacular going forward. Let's talk about the location, and then I will leave you to, well, ask any questions, and then I'll leave you to debate again. The location, it's actually better if you look at it online, but you can't if you're dealing with the paperwork. The location of the Mark Antony one is pretty clear. It's just before the cycle rack, and on the other side, Harrison Paul, it's like a mirror over the other side of the street, and it is before the it's before the bin and the telephone box. OCC have been informed. John Beale, the OCC officer, and I have visited the site, and there is plenty of room in those locations, and there is plenty of room for pedestrians as well, so that we would beautify the town and we would not incur any problems with pedestrians. So I'll take any questions, then I'll leave you to debate, please.
Councillor Eggleton.
Same thing again. It's more stuff on the pavements when those two areas are already cluttered with Zoom boxes and planters already. I agree with that we should have more trees, because is there any, apart from looking pretty and a healthy tree, what is it other than looking nice and attractive in that area and showing trees? What would it do in the air quality? What type of tree would that take out the certain pollutants in that from that tree? Because that is, if it done that, then obviously it's doing quite a lot of more stuff than just a normal tree to make it look pretty. But I do think those two areas are really congested as it is.
Thank you. Councillor, do you want to answer that, Councillor Gavashak, or sure?
Well, the only thing I can say is we've looked at the areas, and well, it's a matter of opinion. There is, in my opinion, plenty of room. And from a highways officer, the OCC officer agreed all of the locations of the planters around the town, and he has agreed that these two locations are absolutely fine. As far as pollution are concerned, of course, trees in the town take away carbon dioxide. I don't think there's actually a specific remit on them absorbing nitrogen dioxide. So therefore, it would be the carbon dioxide element and greening the town and making it look better.
Thank you very much. Councillor Arlott, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was just trying to beat Dave, actually. I was going to say the price of those, if it's a town council, I wouldn't support it. I was just going to ask Councillor Gavashak, have they got gold leaf?
They are mature trees that have been sourced in the UK, because Miles was insistent on that. We can get cheaper trees abroad, but they wouldn't be grown in the UK, and therefore they're resilient to the conditions that we have. They will grow well in a container going forward, and that was the price that Miles quoted. The Tony Lane Foundation pushed me very hard on it, and I went backwards and forwards 3 times to Miles about the trees. But they're happy with the trees now.
Thank you. Helen, then I'll come to you, Councillor Reisman.
I've got 3 points to make. That's where the bins go for regatta. Both of those positions are where the very large bins go for regatta. And we don't have anywhere else that we can put those bins. So that's going to cause us a problem when we get back to normal following COVID, when we need to manage the rubbish in the town from the regatta and other things that go on. Also, for that size tree, a 1 metre by 1 metre box doesn't seem very large, because obviously its root ball is going to grow constantly. And the third thing is that they are going to be in prime position for throwing out time of pubs. And we have a lot of problems in the town with the planters being knocked over, as you will know. I'm not anticipating they'll be able to knock over a tree, but I'm sure that they will be full of beer cans and bottles on a Sunday morning. And I just wondered what provision had been made for those kind of things. So 3 kind of critical points, really.
Okay, right, we'll take them one at a time. Regarding the bins at the regatta, I'm sure that next to them we can still get the bins in the regatta. Certainly on the Mark Antony side, there's plenty of space there. So therefore, we have to look creatively on this side, on the right-hand side by Harrison Hall, for a spot for the bins. Secondly, I can only take. Secondly, on the root ball thing, I can only take the experts' advice. Miles of window flowers who look after all of the flower baskets in the town and the planters in the town actually assure me that the bin is the right size, perfectly adequate, etc., etc., etc. going forward. The third thing about being tipped over, to my knowledge, there have been only 2 of the planters tipped over. And
way more.
And therefore, it applies to that. Occasionally, the planters are turned over and they're put back up again. But we've got to bear in mind that we're trying to actually beautify the town for 52 weeks of the year, and we should not, well, I'll only say this, pander to the vandals that occasionally will spoil our town. So that's all I can say, is we've got to go forward in a positive manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, it's not occasionally they're vandalised, they're ripped out weekly, some of those things. If you speak to Mr. Miles, because I've reported it quite a few times where they've pulled out, and most of those flower shrubs up at up Duke Street are used rubbish more than there are planters, and they do get pulled out. At least 1 or 2 plants are pulled out weekly.
Are there any more questions for Councillor Gavishak? Councillor Reisman.
On the continuing costs after 2 years, is it correct for my reading of 2.6 that the first 2 years will be 520, and therefore we can expect 260 per year for subsequent years? Is that right?
Yes, I would assume
so that's a pretty minimal cost. I don't think that need concern too greatly.
In 2 years, we have the choice, though. We can.
Yeah. But if we do end up having to fund it, it's not a huge sum of money.
And actually, going forward, Councillor Reisman, if we do decide to get rid of them, we could sell the trees back probably as a net profit, because they've grown a bit more.
Well, that brings me on to my next question. It's not really very clear how tall they will be when they go in, and how tall they'll grow to what sort of canopy that you'll get. Because if you think about the canopy that you have of the tree as you go over the bridge, left over the bridge leaving Henley, there's a massive great tree on the left, which is really too large for its location, and it probably looked very good 50 years ago. I can't remember what sort of tree it is. And we do have to be careful that the space that we're growing into is sufficient. So what is the height and canopy of these trees, and how dominating will it be of that corner of the or 2 corners of the town that are being proposed?
I think that the answer is that because they're containerized, they will grow a lot slower. I would say that if we let the trees grow for 5 years, we might have to consider moving them, replacing them, whatever, to another location. They might be too big. But the answer is, I don't know. I'm not a arboriculturalist, so predicting how big these trees would be in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time, I think they'll be okay. In 10 years' time, we might have to think of alternatives.
Ginkgo biloba are the species of tree which are were put into the marketplace in 2000 as part of the pedestrianisation scheme. And
Yes.
you can see how tall they've grown. And in fact, one of those trees died shortly after it was put in, and it's never been replaced. And there is a gap there. If you go and walk down Marketplace, you'll see that instead of a tree growing in that place is one of our sort of three-cornered signs, which tends to have look a bit tired. And I think it should have a tree there. And I think that will be a good location for a tree to go. It was what it was designed for. Ginkgo biloba is what they are, and I'd like to consider that location. Another location where a tree was disappeared in recent years is the entrance to Grays Road car park. As you go into Grays Road car park from the town hall, on the left-hand side, a very large tree was cut down about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's a big ugly gap, and I don't see why we don't consider that as a location as well. But I take Councillor Eggleton's point about the amount of clutter on the Harrison Pool location, but in fact it's a rather plain corner, and a tree would soften the approach as long as it's not too large. So although I completely support the planting of trees and the support of the Tony Lane Foundation, I'm just wondering if those other locations are more suitable, and whether or not the trees will grow to be too large. But if you say they can be removed straightforwardly, then maybe that's less of a problem than I imagined.
Well, two things on that. The first thing is they can be removed straightforwardly. They're in a container, so you just pick them up with a forklift truck and shove them somewhere else. If you want trees elsewhere, then that would be the subject of another report to come to this committee. But at the moment, you have a report in front of you about Hart Street. I agree with you. Yes, if the town and community group want to take on the mantle of advocating 2 more trees, one in the marketplace and one in the Grays Road car park, fine. You can go ahead and do it. But at the moment, I am proposing this, which has been talked about by the Transport Strategy Group, and also I've spent probably about 4 or 5 months chatting to the Tony Lane Foundation to get the funding for this.
Okay, those seem reasonable answers to me.
Thank you, Stefan. Councillor Eggleton.
You said it's a transport strategy group. If it's a transport strategy group, are they not? Is that to do with the air quality? And you just said there's nothing that these trees are nothing to do with air quality. So you said they were for just to brighten up that end of that corner. Also, have you also asked the people where the shops that are on that corner? Are they happy? Because we're supposed to be supporting the shops, not blocking their window views and all that sort of stuff. Are they aware of trees going to appear outside the front of their shop?
Well, if they're tuning into this particular broadcast, then yes, they will be aware of it. The Transport Strategy Group have a fairly broad remit, which is about transport strategy. It's about particulates. It's about pollution. It's about getting traffic flows better. It's about the 20-mile-an-hour zone. It's about pedestrian crossings. It's about a broad range of things. As far as air quality is concerned, there are some plants that actually actively take out carbon particles, and there are others that just convert carbon dioxide into air for us to breathe. And also I wouldn't want to underestimate the beauty of these trees going in. If you look at the pictures on page 45, they're very attractive, and I think they would actually give a lift to the town.
Would we be able to put fairy lights on them?
Yeah, that look nice.
In December.
We would, but we need to account for the budget, because
Yes.
we don't have a budget for it for this year. But yes.
Just cancel the Christmas tree.
That's been paid for.
I must say, I just love the idea of more greenery in the town. You know, and I as I said to Stefan earlier, I love the idea of trees, especially on Hart Street. But I am very concerned of the fact that the two areas that we're looking at have got an awful lot of stuff already there. But you know, if Miles is, it seems that if you believe the space is right for these trees, then great. But I don't suppose we could remove the cycle racks there, could we, and put the trees there and move the cycle rack?
I don't think we need to be honest. I mean, if we put the trees in and it is too cluttered going forward, then in fact what we can do is, yes, as an afterthought, I think we're only talking about the Harrison Falls side, but yes, we could actually move the cycle rack away. Yes, but all I can say is that the OCC officers, and they're experts in this, have looked at it and they say the space is okay, and they're very twitchy about putting trees on pavements as well, and they were very happy about it, and that's in the report.
I'd like to propose that we go ahead with the with what's in 4.1 on the agenda. I think we've given Councillor Gavashak a thorough grilling. He's been very patient and has answered the questions. Trees are a good thing. We want to plant more of them. The district council, as the environment, as the body responsible for the environment, approve. Miles from Window Flowers as good as support. If it doesn't work out for some reason, they are movable. Therefore, it's not an irreversible decision. And they do kill pollution. You know, trees do improve the air quality, and so I think we should. I propose we go ahead.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Right. Everyone happy? We're all in favour.
Sorry, can I haven't spoken to this point yet.
Neither have I.
Is this a question, Will?
No, I'd like to speak to the debate, if I may.
Okay. Let's make it.
I wasn't too in favour of Councillor Gavashak's bins, but I'm more in favour of his trees, to be honest. However, outside Hall and Hilly, the coffee shop, we already have a number of boxes, and I think there is actually a consolidation of those boxes that needs to be done, because half of those boxes are out of use now. There's a BT box there, there's a Zoom box, and I think we should recognise the points that the town manager has made about that as a space that's used for dustbins during regatta. Now, Councillor Reisman made a very good point about the space in Grays Road car park, and the benefit of that space is the tree would go in the ground, and it would grow and grow and grow. It would, you know, because these trees that are in boxes effectively are in a container. They get to a point where they are they outgrow their space, and I think a wooden box would need to go around the container as well. We don't want a plastic container just stuck on the ground, so someone needs to look at to look at what the container goes within. I'm very grateful that the Tony Lane Foundation has put forward this money, but I think we should perhaps prioritise Councillor Reisman's idea about the missing tree in the marketplace and the Grays Road car park tree, and see whether we could get that sorted first, or if we were to buy smaller trees, could we have 4 trees? Just to answer Councillor Eggleton's point about what tree works for pollution, it's the silver birch, which has been well known to reduce the oxides and the nitrates. So that would be the better tree for that space. But given I wasn't supportive of the bins, I will support this one in this instance. But I do think that we should look at the other places.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lambert.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to reassure any member of the public or any other councillor concerned about the visibility of shop fronts. The report is quite clear that there will be no foliage before 2.5 to 3 metres. So that should mean that you can see clearly most shop fronts, I would imagine, which are lower than that. Especially if we, make sure that they are on the upper end of that spectrum, maybe 3 meters clearance, you'd see everything.
As long as it doesn't impact on the bunting and the Christmas lights as well, because they obviously go across that space as well.
Well, I mean, maybe it would help. Extra things to tie it to.
Maybe.
I'm just wondering, sorry, Councillor Iceland, you've actually proposed that we approve 4.1.
Yes, as on the agenda.
Okay, so let's go back to, do we have a seconder for this, for 4.1? Councillor Isaac, right. All in favour that we resolve to approve the positioning of the 2 trees in Hart Street, in memory of Anthony Lane. All those in favour? Okay, good, let's move on. Thank you. But obviously, if it doesn't work out, we can move them, can't we, Councillor Gavashak? I mean, they are movable.
They're in portable containers, so the answer is yes.
Okay.
Thank you, committee, for a very good debate, and I'm glad of the decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, we need to agree the cost moving forward as well, so we can put that in the budget if we're going to absorb that.
Well, nearly for 2 years.
No, but we still better make a provision.
Oh,
so we don't forget it.
Okay. Is that something we need to do now, or?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
Councillor Hamilton, your hand is up.
Can I propose that we delegate the wording of the plaque to the town centre, the town manager and the town clerk?
Yep. I would also like to have an input on that as well. Thank you.
Yes, in consultation with the chair.
I didn't accept that amendment.
Okay, are we happy to move on, please? Item 10. This is the progress report to receive and consider. I'll quickly run through it. Town centre signage. We are putting something in the diary, I think, for a meeting as soon as. Repair Cafe meeting to be held in January 21. Any housekeeping we've discussed. Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Given the points that were raised by Barry Wood, can I ask that a report be put for the next committee regarding housekeeping, grouting, and the other points he put per his email that's going to come to the town clerk?
Yeah, I think I already requested that, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, but he asked for whilst we're in the progress report, he asked for that email will go to the town clerk. But I do think we should make a waste group, as it were, as he suggests, set up a waste working group or reconceive the waste working group that we had 3 years ago to look at his specific points.
Okay.
As I propose.
Okay. Right, moving on. New Street, Slipway.
Hang on, I proposed it, sorry.
Oh, was that a proposal? Okay, hang on a minute. Town clerk, did you want to say something?
Yes, when you receive a proposal, then you ask if it's seconded.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even hear that. Do we have a seconder? Sorry. Okay. We're moving on.
All right.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be in touch.
The New Street Slipway, the Barama Way mural. I know that John Lewis would like to see some mock-ups, and there will be proposals, designs and costings submitted in 2 weeks. That's so they'll probably, I guess they need to come to you, do they, Helen?
Yep, and then we can submit them to Lewis.
That's great.
And also the other owners as well, because they don't own the whole wall.
No, super. Water fountains in Henley, Phillimore Mount Fountain. I am still desperately trying to get hold of Tristan again. He's proving to be rather elusive, so but I'm still trying. And the increased commercial opportunities in marketplace. That's gonna come back to council at another time. but not right now. I think that is now the end of the meeting. Thank you all. I'm sorry it's gone on for a long time, but I think there was a lot of interesting and important debates and decisions that had to be made this evening, and I'm very glad that they were.